Welcome to Story Planet, where we take you on heartwarming journeys to unwind and feel inspired. Tonight's story is Gate 14, A Christmas Tale. Join us in a bustling airport where delays transform into unexpected moments of connection, laughter, and holiday magic. So, settle in, get cozy, and let this festive tale carry you into the true spirit of Christmas. Now, let's begin. The airport was alive with the hum of voices, the rhythmic clatter of rolling suitcases, and the occasional jingling of festive bells from overhead speakers. Christmas was just around the corner, and every traveler carried with them a story, a destination, a loved one to see, a home to reach. But amidst the joy and anticipation, flight delays began to ripple across the departure board, turning the bustling terminal into a reluctant waiting room for countless weary passengers. Among them was Amelia, a young teacher clutching a paperback novel in one hand and a mug of lukewarm coffee in the other. She had been looking forward to her flight for weeks, a journey back home to her parents' cozy house in Vermont, where snow always blanketed the ground on Christmas morning. But as she stared at the blinking word "delayed" on the screen, her shoulders slumped with disappointment. She wasn't alone. Around her, the terminal was a tapestry of emotions. Children squirmed in their seats. Parents did their best to entertain them with snacks and stories. And business travelers typed furiously on laptops, trying to make up for lost time. A few people grumbled, some sighed, but most simply waited, resigned to the inevitability of holiday travel chaos. Amelia found a seat near Gate 14, where a middle-aged man with silver-rimmed glasses and a wool scarf was intently sketching in a notebook. Across from him, an elderly woman wearing a festive red cardigan was knitting something that looked suspiciously like a Christmas stocking. Nearby, a little boy in a Santa hat tugged at his mother's sleeve, pointing excitedly at the airplanes outside the window. As the minutes stretched into hours, the crowd at Gate 14 began to feel less like strangers and more like an accidental community brought together by circumstance. It started when the elderly woman, her name, they learned, was Margaret, looked up from her knitting and said with a warm smile, "Well, if we're stuck here, we might as well make the best of it. Who wants to share a Christmas memory?" The suggestion was met with a brief silence, broken only by the distant sound of carolers over the airport's speakers. Then the man with the sketchbook, his name, it turned out, was Daniel, spoke up. "I'll go first," he said, closing his notebook. "When I was a kid, my family used to drive up to the mountains every Christmas. My dad would tie a sled to the roof of our car, and we'd spend the whole day sledding down this massive hill. The best part was when my mom brought out a thermos of hot cocoa. To this day, I can't drink hot chocolate without thinking of those trips." The group smiled at the memory, and before long, others began to share their stories too. Margaret talked about the Christmas Eve when her husband proposed to her, right under a tree decorated with fairy lights in their hometown square. Amelia shared how her father always made a big production of reading The Night Before Christmas by the Fire, complete with exaggerated voices for each character. As the hours passed, more and more travelers joined the circle. A college student named Mia described the chaotic but joyful Christmas mornings in her large Italian family, where everyone yelled over each other and the kitchen was always a flurry of activity. A pilot who had just finished her shift recounted the magical sight of flying over cities, sparkling with holiday lights. Stories flowed freely, each one weaving a new thread into the fabric of their shared experience. Someone pulled out a guitar and began to strum a soft rendition of Silent Night, and the group hummed along. Margaret handed out candy canes from her purse, and Amelia dug into her carry-on to share a tin of homemade cookies. For a while, the terminal felt less like a place of waiting and more like a holiday gathering. Outside, snow began to fall, dusting the airplanes with a delicate layer of white. The lights of the runway twinkled like stars on the ground, and the faint hum of engines became the background music to their impromptu celebration. A young couple nearby, inspired by the group's camaraderie, joined in and shared photos of their family decorating a Christmas tree back home. It became a cascade of kindness and connection. Daniel, the man with the sketchbook, turned his pad around to show his work. He had drawn a beautiful sketch of the group at Gate 14, capturing the smiles, the laughter, and even the little boy in the Santa hat tugging at his mother's sleeve. "Consider this my Christmas card to all of you," he said, passing the sketch around. More people came forward to share their traditions. A woman named Linda spoke of her childhood in Norway, where she would leave out bowls of porridge for the barn elves, believing they protected her family's farm. A businessman named Raj described celebrating Christmas in India with his wife and young daughter, decorating their house with lights and exchanging gifts while the scent of spiced tea filled the air. Each story added a layer of warmth to the gathering. Someone suggested singing carols, and soon the group was softly singing Jingle Bells and O Holy Night. Even the airport staff paused to listen, some joining in with smiles. A janitor pushing his cart stopped to clap and nod along, and a barista from a nearby coffee kiosk handed out small cups of hot chocolate, saying, "Merry Christmas, everyone." Finally, an announcement crackled over the intercom. "Flight 237 to Burlington is now boarding." The group exchanged smiles and farewells, each of them a little lighter, a little warmer, as they went their separate ways. Margaret turned to Amelia and said, "Sometimes the best journeys aren't the ones we plan. Thank you for sharing your Christmas with me." Amelia nodded, her heart full. "Thank you, too. Safe travels." As she boarded the plane, Amelia glanced back at Gate 14 and smiled. The people she had met, the stories they had shared, they were the unexpected gifts of her holiday journey. She found herself thinking about how travel often brought people together in surprising ways, turning strangers into companions and a delay into a celebration. The plane took off into the snowy night, the lights of the city below shimmering like a sea of stars. Amelia leaned back in her seat, her thoughts drifting to the group at Gate 14. She realized that Christmas wasn't just about reaching a destination. It was about the moments in between, the connections that made the journey worthwhile. As the flight attendants served drinks and snacks, Amelia opened her notebook and began to write, inspired by the evening's events. She started with the words, "Sometimes delays are just opportunities in disguise." She smiled, knowing that the memory of this night would stay with her forever, a holiday story she would cherish and share for years to come. Outside the plane, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world below in a quiet beauty. Inside, the passengers settled into their seats, some chatting softly, others closing their eyes to dream of home. And somewhere far behind, at Gate 14, the faint echoes of laughter and song lingered, a reminder that even in the most unexpected places, the spirit of Christmas could shine brightly. Thank you for joining us on this heartwarming journey aboard Gate 14, A Christmas Tale. We hope the story reminded you of the joy found in unexpected connections and the beauty of shared moments. If this tale brought warmth to your heart, consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with loved ones to spread the holiday cheer. Don't forget to subscribe for more relaxing and inspiring stories. Wishing you timeless Christmas joy, cherished memories, and sweet dreams.